Brawl Stars Esports is changing forever again, but it's a big and amazing improvement that will change how we all understand the BSC, and today I'll be going over all the changes announced earlier today. I'm excited, you should definitely be excited, so let's jump in with the new top 8 teams and challenges format. The entire BSC is split into 2 divisions, the top level holding the top 8 teams per region, and the challengers, which is the new way to try and make it to the top 8 in a brand new system for the BSC. For the top level, monthly finals are no more. Instead, all of the teams in the top 8 will be facing one another throughout the split, with every weekend having one team facing another in a round robin style. The wins and losses will count towards the leaderboards that will determine teams making it to the lands further down the line through playoffs. And by the way, there are no more points. Leaderboards are just based off of wins and losses. Now regarding challenges, we have condensed the regions to these. And throughout the 2 splits, all teams across the regions will be competing in the challenger circuits to come out top 2 in the sub-regions, similar to our challengers work this year. The top 2 in the sub-regions will make the challengers finals to have a chance at qualifying for the top 8 in their own respective larger regions. And here is where it gets interesting, because the 2 worst performing teams in the big region will be playing in a relegation playoff decider against the 2 best teams in the challenger finals. If a top 8 team wins, they will stay up and force the challenger team to return back into the challenger circuit and qualify again in the next split. But if that top 8 team loses in the playoff decider, then they will have to go down into the challenger circuit and go again to try and make it in the top flight, and that challenger team that won will get to stay in the top 8 for the next split and hopefully make a LAN. This brand new format makes the future of the BSC very exciting, and we get to see more storyline, tight games and derby matchups, but also extremely competitive and difficult for a lot of reasons, which we'll be exploring later in the video. And those are the main changes coming to the BSC next season. We have a few more smaller changes that will be coming to the partner program and third-party tournaments, but info will be released later down the line. But we need to talk about what the BSC calls live events. Now, they describe the World Finals Japan is going to be the biggest World Finals ever hosted in Brawl Stars Esports, and also said that Brawl Cup and Challenger Finals will be getting even bigger next year, as they aim to explore more cities, countries, venues, and open up to more opportunities to build up their exposure and fan base of the BSC. Do I hear World Finals UK anytime soon? And by cutting LCQ, they've also slightly largened their budget to reinvest into 2 more LANs in the Challenger Finals, but making all 4 LANs across the year truly amazing spectacles. Regarding Brawl Cup and World Finals for 2027, more specifically the qualifications, I'm unsure of how they'll work exactly, but what we do know is that there will be some kind of playoffs to make these LANs, and Brawl Cup will be rewarding the winners with an additional World Finals spot. And China Mainland has a different structure, but more info to be announced in the future. The reason for these changes is that they want to make the BSC easier to get into and follow. So for casual viewers, they know that on weekends and every weekend there'll always be games going on, and they'll know the same 8 teams competing across the 2 splits, and also roughly know teams making it up and down in tiers and also making it to LANs. And for more serious viewers like you and I, we can watch that and also follow along the different storylines brewing in Challenger Finals, Tier 2 competitions, but also the derbies going on in the top 8. They're also making it easier for organizations to get involved and join the BSC, because now that there's 32 teams always guaranteed in the top 8, there's more chances for bigger organizations to get involved with the BSC and making it just very competitive and increasing their exposure. And if we think about it like Football League, staying up means more exposure and more earnings, which for orgs is important to keep playing and keep reinvesting in their roster year on year. Furthermore, they will need to sign players that can deliver throughout the year and not be relegated, obviously, but that also creates some interesting dynamics. It's going to be easier for orgs to get involved in the BSC thanks to the new top 8 system and also a new application system going onto the events website in a matter of weeks. And that should hopefully secure more orgs appearing in the BSC that we've probably not even seen before, but they're big in other esports, for example Liquipedia, Falcons, and a few others. Secondly, with Challenger Finals and relegation reworks, I like to think of this as a new scouting and signing opportunities. If teams in the top 8 are looking for replacements to make themselves more competitive and fight harder for the LAN spot, they need to look no further now, as the new LANs will create a lot of exposure for rookies and promising talent that could potentially get signed by these bigger teams and orgs, and I think this is excellent for players trying to break through the BSC. However, there are some concerns I have for the system. First of all, changing it to a weekly cycle is okay, but it could become very mentally draining on players as it becomes harder for them to stay available when they're essentially working a second job on the weekends. So I hope there are ways to help players manage their time with IRL commitments and events. Second of all, teams that are fighting in challenger circuits are not guaranteed a place in the top 8, and that could make it extremely difficult for any breakout team in a split. I would have personally liked the top 8 to become a top 12 with 3 relegation battles and perhaps even the worst place in the top 12 immediately being replaced by the winners of a challengers final, and then the 2 playoffs of course. This creates bigger opportunities and also a nice refresh rather than seeing the same 8 or 12 teams competing again and again in case there is that skill difference. But that's just me, and to be fair, I'm okay with the new system, but maybe we can expand it a little bit. I also think that the BSC are trying to level out the importance of Brawl Cup with World Finals because this new format just feels like a 5-month split on repeat and just 2 differently named lands at the end. And this is great, but Brawl Cup will never be equal with World Finals. And also these teams making it through the Challengers Finals will unfortunately have to wait a year before making another World Finals. But I guess they get Brawl Cup at least. Some smaller notes is that I hope payouts are better now that we have more orgs involved. I hope that this system works in the long run and is fair to all teams, and I'm also happy that the changes kind of fix some issues I had with the old system that I mentioned in this video here. In fact, I think all of them are resolved now. More news is to drop Wednesday 12 PM UTC. I'll probably drop another video there reviewing these changes, and I really thought today was going to be a normal Monday, and now my plans of the week are kind of shattered. Thanks Brawl Stars. But I hope you all enjoyed and learned a few things for the new system. If you have any further questions, then ask on X under this post as they might be selected for their panel answering questions from the community. I'd also appreciate if you liked my questions because I'd really like to have them answered. If you enjoyed, then like and subscribe for more news, and I'll see you all later, Sproutlings. Bye!